The acrid smell of smoke still clung to my clothes as I stood in front of what remained of my childhood home. Firefighters moved through the charred ruins, their flashlights cutting through the pre-dawn darkness. 28 years of memories reduced to ashes in a single night. Miss Parker? A firefighter approached, his face sympathetic beneath the suit. We've contained the fire, but I'm sorry, there's not much left to salvage. I nodded numbly, clutching my grandmother's old recipe book to my chest, the only thing I'd managed to grab before the flames forced me out. If I'd lost this, I would have never forgiven myself. It was the last thing Grandma Rose gave me before she passed away 6 months ago. Any idea what caused it? I asked, my voice hoarse from smoke. Looks like faulty wiring in the east wall, he replied. These old houses, sometimes the electrical systems just can't keep up with modern demands. I should have known. Should have updated the wiring when the lights started flickering last month. But between losing my job at the investment firm and caring for Grandma Rose in her final days, home repairs had fallen to the bottom of my priority list. Now I had nothing. No home, no job, no insurance. The policy had lapsed last week, and my renewal check was still sitting unmailed on my desk. Now nothing but ashes. Sarah. A familiar voice called out. My cousin Olivia was rushing across the lawn, her designer heels completely inappropriate for the debris-strewn yard. Behind her, my other cousin Marcus followed at a more measured pace. Oh my God, are you okay? We came as soon as we heard. Olivia wrapped me in a perfume-scented hug while Marcus stood back, surveying the damage with calculating eyes. They were my only living relatives since Grandma Rose died, but we'd never been close. They lived in the city, pursuing high-powered careers and socialite lifestyles, while I stayed in our small town, working and caring for Grandma. I'm fine, I assured Olivia, stepping back from her embrace. Just overwhelmed. You can't stay here, she declared, gesturing at the ruins. You'll come stay with me. My guest room is practically a hotel suite. Before I could respond, Marcus spoke up. What were you able to save? Just this. I held up Grandma's recipe book. Everything else. Grandma's recipes. Olivia's perfectly manicured hand reached for the book. I always meant to ask her for those. Remember her apple pie? No one could replicate it. I pulled the book closer to my chest, not ready to share this last piece of Grandma. It's more than recipes, it's her notes, her memories. She gave it to me the week before she died. Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Did she? Interesting that she gave you her prized possession when she was barely lucid at the end. I felt my spine stiffen. She knew exactly what she was doing. She made me promise to keep it safe. Of course she did, Olivia soothed, shooting Marcus a warning look. Come on, let's get you somewhere comfortable. You can go through the book later, maybe find something to bake that'll cheer you up. I let them lead me away from the smoldering ruins, too exhausted to argue. Olivia's cream-colored Mercedes felt surreal after the chaos and destruction of the night. As we drove through the sleeping town, I clutched the recipe book tighter, drawing comfort from its familiar worn leather cover. Grandma Rose had been more than just a grandmother to me. After my parents died in a car accident when I was 12, she raised me in that old house, filling it with the smell of baking and the sound of her gentle humming. While Olivia and Marcus visited occasionally for holidays, always bringing expensive gifts and stories of their glamorous lives, Grandma and I built something deeper. She taught me not just recipes, but life lessons, wisdom, and love. You know, Marcus's voice cut through my memories from the front seat. Now might be a good time to think about selling the property. Even with the house destroyed, the land itself is valuable. That whole area is being developed. Marcus, Olivia hissed. She just lost everything. This isn't the time. But I knew what Marcus was thinking. He'd been trying to convince Grandma to sell for years, arguing that the neighborhood was changing, that she could live comfortably in a modern apartment instead of that outdated money pit. Grandma had always refused, saying some things were worth more than money. I'm not selling, I said firmly. That land has been in our family for 3 generations. Marcus shrugged, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. Just trying to help you see the practical side. You have no job, no insurance payout coming. How exactly are you planning to rebuild? He had a point, even if I hated to admit it. My savings had been drained by Grandma's medical bills in her final months. The severance from my job would barely cover a few months' rent, let alone rebuilding a house. We pulled up to Olivia's luxury apartment building, all glass and steel and modern angles. The doorman nodded respectfully as we entered the lobby, though I caught him eyeing my smoke-stained clothes with concern. "Here we are," Olivia announced, throwing open the door to her apartment. "The guest room's through there. Why don't you get cleaned up? I'll make coffee." The guest room was bigger than my old bedroom, decorated in pristine whites and grays that made me acutely aware of the soup on my clothes. I set Grandma's recipe book carefully on the bedside table and headed for the shower, eager to wash away the physical evidence of the night's disaster. Under the hot water, I finally let the tears come. Everything I owned, every photograph, every memento of my parents and my childhood, gone. All I had left was this recipe book and, my eyes snapped open, the letter. In my shock over the fire, I'd completely forgotten about the letter Grandma had tucked into the recipe book, the one I was supposed to open 6 months after her death. Today marked exactly 6 months. I rushed through the rest of my shower and threw on the clothes Olivia had left out. Designer loungewear that probably cost more than my old wardrobe combined. With trembling hands, I picked up the recipe book and opened it. The letter was still there, nestled between pages of Grandma's flowing handwriting. The envelope was thick, sealed with wax in Grandma's old-fashioned way. On the front, in her elegant script, it read, "For Sarah, to be opened 6 months after my passing. Not a moment sooner, my dear." I broke the seal carefully, pulling out several folded papers. The first was a letter in Grandma's handwriting. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, 6 months have passed since I left this world. I'm sorry for making you wait, but there were things that needed to be settled first. Legal matters that had to be resolved before what I'm about to tell you could come to light. First, you should know that I haven't been entirely honest with you or anyone else about our family's financial situation. The simple life I lived, the modest means I claimed to have. It was all carefully constructed. The truth is hidden throughout this recipe book, in places only someone who truly knows me would think to look. But before you go searching, you need to understand why I kept this secret, why I chose you to inherit not just recipes, but a legacy that goes far beyond apple pies and chocolate chip cookies. Your cousins visited me the week before I gave you this book. They had a proposition, one that showed me their true colors more clearly than ever before. A knock at the door made me jump, shoving the letter back into the recipe book. "Sarah?" Olivia called. "Coffee's ready." "Coming," I replied, my heart pounding. What had Grandma hidden? What proposition had my cousins made? I tucked the recipe book under the guest room pillow before joining them in the living room. Olivia pressed a cup of expensive coffee into my hands while Marcus lounged on the designer sofa, typing rapidly on his phone. "I've been thinking," Olivia said, settling into an armchair. "Why don't you stay here for a while? Take some time to figure things out. I'm sure Marcus and I can help you find a job in the city." "That's very generous," I replied carefully, noting how Marcus's typing slowed as he listened for my response. "We're family," he said without looking up from his phone. "We take care of our own." But something in his tone made me uneasy. I remembered Grandma's words in the letter about their true colors, about a proposition they'd made. What were they really after? "I think I'll stay for a few days," I said, buying time to figure out what Grandma had hidden in that recipe book. "Just until I can make some arrangements." Olivia beamed while Marcus nodded, but I caught them exchanging a look when they thought I wasn't watching. They were up to something. I just didn't know what. As I sipped my coffee, my mind raced. What had Grandma hidden in that book? Why had she waited 6 months to reveal it? And most importantly, what did my cousins know that made them suddenly so interested in helping me? The recipe book sat hidden under the pillow in the guest room, holding secrets that could change everything. I just had to figure out how to uncover them before my cousins showed their true intentions. That night, after Olivia and Marcus had gone to bed, I slipped back into the guest room and retrieved Grandma's recipe book. My hands trembled as I pulled out the letter and continued reading. Your cousins came to me with an ultimatum. They had discovered some of my investments through their business connections, though they didn't know the full extent. They threatened to contest any will I wrote, to drag your inheritance through years of legal battles unless I agreed to their demands. They wanted control of everything, Sarah, not just the money, but the house, the land, everything our family has built over generations. They spoke of development deals and property values, but never once mentioned the memories we made there, the legacy it represents. That's when I knew I had made the right choice in choosing you as my heir. Look carefully at my recipe for apple pie, dear one. Remember how I always said the secret was in the measurements? I quickly flipped to the apple pie recipe, one I'd seen hundreds of times but never truly understood. Grandma's measurements had always seemed odd, precise numbers with decimal points for simple ingredients. Now, looking at them through new eyes, I gasped. They weren't measurements at all. They were stock numbers and share quantities. With shaking fingers, I began pulling apart the book's binding. Inside, pressed between layers of aged leather, were stock certificates, dozens of them. Blue-chip companies, tech giants, pharmaceutical corporations, some dating back decades. But more than that, there were deeds, property titles, and documents showing ownership of patents I'd never known existed. As I laid everything out on the bed, the full scope of Grandma's fortune became clear. She hadn't just been saving recipes, she'd been building an empire in secret. The total value of just the stocks alone was over $8.7 million. A soft knock at the door made me freeze. "Sarah," Olivia's voice came through. "Are you still awake?" I quickly gathered everything, stuffing it back into the recipe book. "Just a moment," I called, hiding the book under my pillow and trying to calm my racing heart. When I opened the door, both Olivia and Marcus stood there. The sympathetic smiles from earlier were gone. "We need to talk," Marcus said, pushing past me into the room. "About Grandma Rose's recipe book." "What about it?" I asked, painfully aware of the millions hidden just feet away. "Don't play dumb," Olivia snapped. "We know there's more than recipes in there. Grandma was worth a fortune, and that book is the key to finding it." I stepped back, bumping against the bed. "How would you know that?" Marcus's face hardened. "Because we had her investigated in her final months. We knew she was hiding something. When we confronted her, she promised to make things right in her will. But she didn't, did she? Instead, she gave everything to you. You investigated our dying grandmother." The shock in my voice was real. "While I was taking care of her, you were hiring private investigators?" "Oh, drop the moral high ground," Olivia scoffed. "You were just playing the devoted granddaughter to get her money. Well, guess what? We won't let you get away with it. Hand over the book." I reached under the pillow, clutching the recipe book tight. "No. Sarah," Marcus's voice turned threatening. "Don't make this difficult. There are 3 of us and 1 of you. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." "3?" I asked, confused. The guest room door opened wider, revealing Thomas, Marcus's personal lawyer, standing in the hallway with a briefcase. "Miss Parker," Thomas said smoothly, "I have documents here showing that your grandmother was not of sound mind when she gave you that book. Sign them, hand over the book, and we'll give you a generous settlement." I looked between their faces, Olivia's barely concealed greed, Marcus's cold determination, Thomas's professional detachment. Then I smiled. "You're right about one thing," I said. "Grandma did make things right in the end." I pulled out my phone and pressed play on a recording. Grandma Rose's voice filled the room. "I, Rose Eleanor Parker, being of sound mind, do hereby declare that any previous statements regarding my estate were made under duress. My grandchildren, Marcus and Olivia Parker, threatened legal action unless I complied with their demands." Their faces turned pale as the recording continued, detailing their threats, their investigation, their attempts at manipulation. "That's inadmissible," Thomas sputtered. "You can't?" "Oh, but I can." I cut him off. "You see, Grandma didn't just leave me recipes, she left me evidence. Documents showing how you embezzled from your clients, Marcus. Records of your insider trading, Olivia. All safely stored with her lawyers to be revealed only if you contested her wishes." Marcus lunged for the recipe book, but I was ready. I stepped aside, letting him stumble past me. "I've already photographed everything," I said calmly. "The stocks, the deeds, the evidence against you both. One call to my lawyer, and it all goes public." "You're bluffing," Olivia whispered, but her voice shook. I pulled out Grandma's letter, reading aloud. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then Marcus and Olivia have shown their true colors. The real inheritance isn't just the money. It's the chance to finally break free from their greed and manipulation." Thomas cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately." "Get out," I said firmly. "All of you. And if you ever try to contest this inheritance, if you ever come after me or what's mine, everything comes out. Every dark secret, every illegal deal. They left quickly after that, Olivia nearly running in her designer pajamas, Marcus dragging his shell-shocked lawyer behind him. As their car peeled away from the building, I sank onto the bed, finally letting out the breath I'd been holding. The next morning, I checked into a hotel and called Grandma's real lawyer, the one she'd mentioned in her letter, not the corrupt one working with Marcus. Everything she'd said was true. The fortune was mine, legally and irrevocably. I spent the next few weeks putting her plan into action. The house would be rebuilt not as the modern monstrosity Marcus had envisioned, but as a community center with a teaching kitchen where people could learn the real secrets of Grandma's recipes, love, patience, and the importance of family. The stocks and investments she'd hidden would more than cover it, with enough left over to start a foundation in her name, helping other grandmothers and granddaughters build their own legacies. 1 month after the fire, I stood on the cleared property, Grandma's recipe book in my hands. Workers were already laying the foundation for the new building. In the morning sun, I could almost see Grandma Rose standing there, smiling her knowing smile. I opened the book to the apple pie recipe, now understanding the true measurement of its worth. It wasn't just about the millions she'd hidden. It was about trust, foresight, and love. My cousins had spent years chasing wealth, but Grandma had taught me that real value isn't just about money. The secret, she always said, is in the measurements. She wasn't just talking about baking. She was teaching me how to measure what truly matters in life. Marcus and Olivia never contested the inheritance. The evidence Grandma had gathered was too damaging, their careers too fragile to risk exposure. Sometimes I see their names in business magazines or social pages, still playing their roles in high society. But they avoid me now, crossing the street if they see me coming. As for me, I still bake Grandma's apple pie every Sunday, using the real measurements now. The community center's kitchen fills with the same warm, sweet scent that once filled our old house. Young people come to learn baking, but they leave with something more valuable. Lessons about patience, honesty, and the true meaning of legacy. In the end, losing everything in that fire led me to discover what I'd had all along. A grandmother wise enough to see the truth, brave enough to plan for it, and loving enough to make sure justice was served, even after she was gone. The recipe book sits in a special display case in the community center now, its secrets revealed but its real treasure preserved. The love of a grandmother who knew that the greatest inheritance isn't measured in millions, but in the wisdom she passes down to those who truly deserve it.